gMath was recently updated, so I'm going to go over a quick intro video on how you can use it in Google Forms. But gMath is an add-on for forms, spreadsheets, and documents, so you can create mathematical expressions and graphs and statistical displays to place them in there. So we're improving on the equation editor that's inside of Google Docs already, actually giving a lot more functionality. Inside of Forms, what you can easily do in this case here is I can use gMath for Forms, and again, if you don't know about add-ons, you have to get add-ons in order to add it to the forms. I have to get it for each separate tool I'm using. So for a form, I have to get it. For a spreadsheet, I have to get it. But once I get it for forms, it's in all my forms. So I'm going to go to my gMath for Forms. And you see I have some options here: math expressions, graphs, statistical display, or deploy. The first three are just about creating the questions that go into your sheet. So what I can do here is I can title whatever I want. I can put solve for x, and then I can put a nice little equation in here. And I can use the LaTeX editor already, but I can also then use these to automatically add in something. So if I want to add in this, you see kind of add in there that I can replace A and B. And I can make this really difficult or really easy. I have those options. Now, this is very simple to use. You can use the LaTeX there, or you can use the pre-made parts that are down here. You see you have lots of options in there. And then you hit insert once you're happy with what you have. You saw the preview here, so you can kind of see what it looks like here. So it adds it as an image inside the form, and then that creates a question for the students to be able to answer, to put in their answers. If you go to the add-ons and you select instead create a graph, I can do the same thing. I can write in the question title there, but what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take that and put down the help text. And so I can call this graph 1. I can then write in the equation for my graph, and I'm just going to use a very simple equation here. You see I don't get any preview this time, so that's one thing. I'll just have to hit insert to see what it looks like. I can decide how large my graph is going to be, as far as how zoomed in it's going to be. And again, I have the buttons here to automatically add in those LaTeX features. I can graph the line of best fit. I can plot the legend, show the y-axis, show arrows. I have options here for my graph. So I have a lot of options what I can do. Once I'm ready, I hit insert. Now the thing is that once they're inserted, I can't change them. So if I made a mistake here, if I want to change the question, I just have to go back and create a new question. So you can see my graph in here, and so students should be able to figure that out and put in their answer. Now, that's how I can use gMath to insert equations or graphs or even statistical displays into a Google form for students to answer. But I can also use gMath to allow students to be able to give their answers using the same thing. So what I did is I went to add-ons, gMath for Forms, and then deploy, and then I got to click deploy again. This link is what I'm going to give to my students so that they can submit answers into the form. Now, the first time they do this, they're going to have to give authorization for gMath to work, since gMath has to have access to their Google Drive and to an outside service. This part here, you want to set the trigger on form submit so that it can automatically give me an image into the spreadsheet. I'm going to go to my deployed URL. And now I can see the form as I normally would. I'm not going to do the live form, I do the deployed form. And now students have the option they can use an expression, graph, statistical display, or even handwriting entry in order to insert their answers here. So in the case here, I could create an expression. And I could go in here, I can write it out, or I could use this. So let's say for some reason it was that. And I can say x is equal to that. There we go. And I get my nice little thing here. Then I'm going to click the button text to paste in as a response. I'm just going to copy that. And then I'm going to paste it into there. So students will have to do it. They'll have to copy this and paste. And so this will allow an image to actually show up in my form. Now let's say for this graph, they could also create their own graph and insert that. Or they could do a handwriting entry. And handwriting entry is useful in case for some of your students who don't know how to use LaTeX, they could do like the angle of x. And you see how that actually comes down right there. So that's a nice little tool there. Or if I want to, I can create my own graph. Let's say y equals 2. Again, I'll have to hit the button, create text, paste as a form response, copy in that text, and paste it in there. So students will be able to use gMath to answer questions, and then once they're done, they hit submit. And if I go to my spreadsheet, you can see that they are actually coming in right there. And so I can even, if I need to, I can make this bigger. I've used the same form multiple times. So you can see, I'll see the image automatically go in there. One thing you may have to look at, and this is an important thing, if the image doesn't show up, look at it, make sure it starts with equals and then the image, because this is pretty much our graph. You see the graph is kind of small, but if I make this bigger, whoops, what I can do is make that bigger, and the graph will get bigger itself, and so I can see the response that way too. So gMath is a very useful add-on for allowing you to create questions, and also using it for students to be able to enter their own answers into a Google form. So it gives us a lot of possibilities. If you're still wanting to see their work, you can easily just have students write out their work, put their answers into the form for quicker assessing and feedback, but also have them turn in their work so you can see how they did it to figure out why they got what they got wrong.